in the 2020 NHL Draft belongs to the New York Rangers. New York Rangers, you are on the clock.
Okay, and have a look at the Rangers table there. At the head, of course, Jeff Gorton. It was February the 8th, by the way, guys, 2018, when the Rangers essentially waved the white flag and said, we are rebuilding. Remember Henrik Lundqvist with the tears. Matt Zuccarello was leaving, going to strip it down and build it back up. Since then, and have a look at Alexis Lafrenière. Igor Shesterkin evolves. Capo Caco gets drafted second. Artemi Panarin comes in, and going to sound like Churchill here. It feels like this is the end of the beginning of this rebuild for the New York Rangers. What are they getting in Alexis Lafrenière?
They're getting a guy who does just about everything in the game. You talk about a guy who competes hard. He can shoot the puck. He makes plays around him. He makes those around him better. He pays attention to what's happening in the defensive zone. And here's a guy really who, when you look at a Nathan McKinnon or you look at a Connor McDavid, it's that skating that pops to you immediately. You're not going to see that with Alexis Lafrenière because he's so good in so many facets. He has that well-rounded game. The interesting part about this player is that he's had 3 years to play in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League for his development. He's out training right now, but what will happen with him once this pick is made?
You know, and Brian, in a lot of ways, this has been the model rebuild from pretty much the beginning. Certainly there's some luck along with it, but Jeff Gorton's done a masterful job here.
Oh, yeah, model job. Win the lottery twice, the draft lottery twice. Move up 4 times once. Move up 11 spots this time. Yeah, that's a great job. That's someone said to me, why didn't you do the Pittsburgh model rebuild? I said, yeah, win a lottery and get the best player in 20 years. How do I sign up for that? He's done a good job, but he's gotten a lot of help here. They've done a really good job, but they got help from the draft lottery, and we got to fix that. They can't leapfrog 11 teams.
Alexis Lafrenière is going to be an outstanding prospect for the New York Rangers for a number of years, and that's our panel's insight. Let's head upstairs now. Elliot Friedman with Mike Futa with their thoughts.
So, Michael, you've been in this seat just before the draft is about to begin. What's that like for the individual teams, the people who are making these selections?
There's a ton of tension. I mean, you're looking for something to break the tension. You're looking in the crowd for that kid that you're going to select. You're waiting for the media text that's going to ask you who you're going to take. You got senseless calls from friends. That still hasn't stopped. And you're just trying to break that tension. It's like around here, you got Brian Burke that keeps things light, keeps things cool for us. And at the National Hockey level, I found it funny, especially when Luc Robitaille and Rob Blake took over, that the phone would usually ring and the Montreal Canadiens would, Mark Bergevin, I'd pick up the phone thinking there was a big trade happening, pass the phone to Rob Blake, and Berge would be just cracking a joke to lighten things up.
Your tie's badge, something like that?
You got something on your tie. Luke, what'd you have for lunch? What'd you have for dinner? Nothing hockey-related, but it was always to keep things light.
Well, Michael, Mark Bergevin did make one phone call today, and that was to Columbus, where the Canadiens traded Max Domi for Josh Anderson. Columbus also got a third-round pick, 78th overall. That will be done tomorrow. Both players are restricted free agents with arbitration rights, so both teams will have to sign those players. Let's go to Jamie Hirsch at the NHL Network. Jamie?
This is totally different. You are at home. You mentioned your family. So what's your setup like right there?
We'll be, we have cameras here, and I'll be with my family sitting, and just waiting for the pick, and we'll see. It's like you said, it's different. It's not what everybody expected, but we'll still find a way to enjoy it, and it's still a big honor for me.
Have a look at a young Alexis Lafrenière wearing the Rimouski jersey, destined to join the same team that Sidney Crosby once played for. And I always feel a little bit strange putting these graphics up. No pressure, kid. Only 2 players have won the CHL Player of the Year twice, Sidney Crosby and Alexis Lafrenière. Is this fair? Are they more, Sam, similar or different players?
I think they're different players. I think they both exhibit the power game, but when you look at Crosby, when the chips are down, this guy's performed well. So too has Lafrenière to this point. He just hasn't done it at the NHL level, but that will come in time. But in terms of their overall skill set, attention to detail all over the ice, there are a lot of similarities there.
This is a big market that Alexis Lafrenière is going to, New York City. Does it take a special type of player, Brian, to succeed in an environment like that?
It takes a special player to deal with failure or adversity in New York. They're unforgiving fans. He'll be given a real good chance. If he has a slow start the first 18 months, they will be hard on him. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's ready to play and contribute right away.
Deep prospect pool already for the New York Rangers. Think of Keandre Miller and we think of Philip Hedl. It's about to get deeper, Sam.
4 years, no first-rounders. The last 3 years, they've had 6 of them and 2 more tonight. That's how you hasten a rebuild.
And you win a lottery twice.
Sorry.
The Metropolitan Division about to get that much better. Let's head back to the NHL Network and NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman.
The first selection in the 2020 NHL Draft will be made by New York Rangers General Manager Jeff Gorton.
With the first pick in the 2020 NHL Draft, the New York Rangers are proud to select from the Rimouski Oceanic, Alexis Lafrenière.
Celebratory hugs for Alexis Lafrenière. Perhaps the worst-kept secret at the draft, guys. Alexis Lafrenière was going first overall. Sam, your thoughts on? I mean, you followed this guy even before he played in the QMJHL, but going back to the Quebec Pee Wee tournament, exactly. You know, talk about his development a little bit and what the Rangers are getting.
Oh, they're getting Mr. Everything. And you look at his dad, Hugo, there, and just think that this guy might have some more room to grow. And that's scary because he's already a thick, big-bodied guy who loves to play that physical game. We saw that this year. But going back to the start of his career, when he came into the league as a 15-year-old, he put up 42 goals. And you're saying, all right, well, you're the first overall pick. You should produce at pretty high levels, maybe not that high. So the next year he comes back and he says, you know what, I'm going to show off a little different element to my game. I'm going to add a layer. What's that layer? The ability to make plays. 68 assists, 107 points, and now you're saying, all right, this guy's a dual threat. Well, how about in year 3? What are you going to do for your encore? Well, I'm going to show a little bit more consistency in my game, and I'm going to add that physical edge. So if anyone wants to mess with me in the net front or in the corners as a winger, don't worry about it. I've got you handled. He proved to be all of those things for Canada at the World Juniors. He scored goals. He made plays. He showed off the great physical attributes to his game, and all of a sudden you were looking at an MVP and the first overall pick. Well-deserved for this young man.
Brian, the last time the New York Rangers drafted a left winger in the first round, we go back to 2009, and Chris Kreider. If you're Jeff Gorton now, you have Alexis Lafrenière. What's your first order of business as a general manager with this prize?
Well, you got to sign him, obviously, but everyone knows what the market is for these types of picks. Whether that changes in the COVID world or not, I don't know. You got to sign him, that's number one. Number two is get him into the city and acclimate him. He's never been there before. It's an intimidating place your first time you go to New York City. But I think when you talk to the other players who might get bumped off a line here and reassure them that they've still got a job.
What are expectations? We always think of the first overall pick goes right into the NHL. This young man's going to go right into the NHL in the Big Apple and play with the Rangers. You wonder about expectations. What's reasonable for Alexis Lafrenière at the NHL level?
Well, first let me say they're probably going to be heightened. And the reason is when you look at what all the time he's had to prepare here in terms of the training, the off-ice, the on-ice, the skills, the skating, all of those things will have had more time to prepare than anyone else in the draft history. So now you're saying to yourself, Jeff, all right, we expected him to come in and be an impact guy right away, but I would look at a baseline of 50 points because I do believe as smart as he is and as good as he makes those around him better, when you get to the National Hockey League, some of those passes that are in the feet or just beyond the stick no longer are that way. They're received, they're taken care of, and now you have a guy who is that much better because he thinks the game at that same level.
You've seen this player play, Ryan. You know what he can bring. You've talked about how he's a left winger until he crosses the blue line, and then he's a center. We see more playmaking wingers in the NHL than we ever have before. This is a long-winded way, Brian, of me asking you the same question I just asked Sam. Expectations for Lafrenière in New York?
Well, the expectations, I think, will be met because I'm with Sam. I think this player is ready to play. He's physically ready to play. He's a robust kid. All these kids quit playing hockey in March. All they've done in those 5.5 months since then is train in the gym, working on their explosiveness, working on their upper bodies. The kids we interviewed are all at least 10 to 15, some 20 pounds heavier than they were at the pause. So to me, he's even more prepared. He was ready before, and now he's even more prepared. I think he's ready to step in right away.
I know you're sour about this, but the Rangers are the first team since 1983 to compete in the Stanley Cup playoffs and also select first overall. Minnesota did it in 1983. That was a trade with the Pittsburgh Penguins. They took Brian Lawton, now, of course, of the NHL Network, and now here are the Rangers. Let's get now to Jeff Gorton, the New York Rangers general manager.
Jeff, congratulations on the first overall pick. We can now talk about it officially. Alexis Lafrenière will be a New York Ranger. What is it about his game that makes you believe he can come into the league and make an immediate impact for your team?
I think it's how well-rounded he is. You know, obviously when you go first overall, he's got skill. The talent's obvious. He can skate. But I think it's on top of that is his work ethic and the physical play. He's willing to do anything to win, put in team first. He has, you know, we talk about 5-tool players in other sports. But, you know, we feel like he's got all the tools.
You know, it was probably in January where he really set himself apart from the pack. But at what point in your scouting process did you know that if you were able to get the #1 overall pick that you would pick him?
I mean, I think like everybody else, we knew early on that he was going to, you know, he came out of the World Junior. I think it was pretty clear he was going to be the #1 player, that it wasn't, you know, most teams would have said the same thing. So we had him first overall for a long time, and it never really changed.
So you not only have Alexis Lafrenière, but you also have one more pick to make later on tonight, assuming nothing crazy happens, no other trades are made. So what are you looking into improving in terms of other areas of strength?
Yeah, I think at 22, you know, we're going to see how the board develops, and I think we'll be in a position later in the first to take the best player available and look down the road who's going to be the best player in 3 or 4 years.
Okay, well, we'll talk to you later in the night then. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Jamie.
Jamie, thanks very much. Congratulations to New York Rangers, and congratulations to Alexis Lafrenière, who goes first overall. We now wonder who goes second. Back to Secaucus in the NHL Network and the commissioner, Gary Bettman.